David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney+. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney+ every night.
Tonight, breaking news, the race to track a deadly virus outbreak after learning passengers got off the ship weeks ago. That virus spread on a cruise ship in the Atlantic, and tonight we learned health officials are now tracking 30 people who got off the boat weeks ago, including several Americans who returned here to the U.S. Also, the horrific scene tonight, multiple tornadoes touching down. A staggering trail of destruction, hundreds of homes, more than 1,000 buildings damaged or destroyed. The path of destruction from one reported tornado 16 miles long. Tonight, the war in Iran, and there is news coming in. The U.S. and Iran have traded fire at what President Trump told our Rachel Scott just moments ago. And where does the effort to restart talks stand tonight? This evening, the new charges just in after former Prince Andrew was allegedly threatened near his home. Reports of a man in a ski mask and what authorities say happened. In the U.S., the case that made national headlines, a new turn tonight in the Kristin Smart case, the 19-year-old who disappeared from her college campus nearly 30 years ago. Her body never found and where authorities just showed up. Tonight, a dozen former NFL players now joining the sex abuse lawsuit against Ohio State University, accusing a former school doctor of abuse, and why they're coming forward now. Tonight, we're inside Cuba, the Trump administration hitting the Cuban government with new sanctions. President Trump has vowed to topple the Cuban regime. Tonight, the Cuban foreign minister and what he just told our Whit Johnson in Cuba, warning of a bloodbath if the U.S. strikes. Tonight, the meeting with Pope Leo amid rising tensions between President Trump and the first American Pope, Secretary of State Marco Rubio at the Vatican. Tonight, the images of suspect opening fire on New York State troopers. We have learned tonight of 2 passenger jets clipping wings. We told you last night about the 1,500 beagles saved. What's now happened tonight? Also, major changes coming to March Madness. And there's news tonight about singer Bonnie Tyler, who sang Total Eclipse of the Heart.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We begin tonight with breaking news. The race to track a deadly virus outbreak that started on that cruise ship in the Atlantic after authorities have now revealed tonight that many passengers got off that cruise ship weeks ago. The hantavirus outbreak linked to that cruise ship in the Atlantic. Health officials tracking at least 30 people now who got off the ship 2 weeks ago, traveling to their home countries all over the world, including 7 Americans now back in the U.S. 3 people taken off that ship in just the last 24 hours, 2 of them in serious condition. 3 other people have died. Tonight, 18 Americans remain on board that ship, the World Health Organization urging calm. ABC's Victor Oquendo leading us off.
Tonight, the race to stop a deadly hantavirus outbreak on this cruise ship now stretching across 4 continents, including here in the U.S. The World Health Organization is urging calm.
This is not coronavirus. This is a very different virus. This is not the start of a COVID pandemic. This is an outbreak that we see on a ship. There's a confined area.
That ship with 18 Americans on board expected to dock in Spain's Canary Islands on Sunday. Sick passengers evacuated from the ship are now being treated in the Netherlands, South Africa, and Germany. A KLM flight attendant is also being tested after coming into contact with a sick passenger from the ship who was removed from the plane on her way home and died the next day. Ruhi Chenet was on the ship with the woman and on that flight. Her husband was the first passenger to die.
Everyone was trying to support her socially, giving her hugs, talking to her at every meal. And that's when it got really dangerous. I saw her health deteriorating.
Tonight, Dr. Ashish Jha, who coordinated the White House response to the COVID pandemic, is most concerned about the people on the ship.
This is obviously a deadly virus, 30-40% mortality rate. It can take a while for symptoms to show up. So we have to be really focused on making sure that if anybody starts developing symptoms, that they get care immediately.
The journey over was a bit rocky.
The cruise left from Argentina.
I'm spending the next 35 days crossing the Atlantic, visiting some of the most remote islands in the world.
Passengers like Jake Rosemarin documenting their tour of remote islands and wildlife. But tonight, teams are tracking 30 people who got off the boat 2 weeks ago on St. Helena from a dozen countries, including 7 Americans who returned to Arizona, Georgia, California, Virginia, and Texas.
I very much understand why people are having PTSD from the COVID days. But what I remind people is this is not a novel virus, and it spreads far less efficiently. So the chances that somehow this will become this big global outbreak infecting lots and lots of people is extraordinarily low.
When the ship arrives in the Canary Islands, passengers and crew will be screened on board before they can go home. And David, as for those 7 Americans who returned to the U.S., none have symptoms, but they are being closely monitored. David.
All right, Victor Oquendo leading us off tonight. Victor, thank you. Also breaking tonight, the horrific scene, multiple tornadoes touching down. A staggering trail of destruction tonight. Hundreds of homes, more than 1,000 buildings damaged or destroyed across the South. The path of destruction from one reported tornado 16 miles long in one county alone. ABC's Faith Abube in the storm zone tonight in Mississippi.
Tonight, damage assessments still underway after multiple tornadoes touched down in Mississippi overnight. AccuWeather chasers catching this rain-wrapped tornado south of Jackson.
That's a huge wedge! Huge wedge!
Trees blocking roads, including crucial Interstate 55 near Brookhaven. East of there, a mobile home park taking a direct hit. Outside Hattiesburg in the town of Purvis, reports of people trapped in their homes, entire subdivisions in splinters.
We came into this hall and everybody kneeled down.
The tornado hit just as Pastor Jimmy Brazil and congregants at Coal Town Baptist Church were finishing a meal.
After things kind of settled a little bit, we began to venture out and look, and we saw that our fellowship hall was destroyed.
Across the state, at least 17 people hurt and more than 1,000 buildings and homes like this one destroyed. The trail of destruction here in Lamar County, 16 miles long.
And I came here and I got inside.
Lauren Rungelling hid in her bathtub, pulled the shower curtain, and prayed.
I've never felt fear for my life before, and that is nothing I ever want to feel again, ever.
Brad Hankins' mother's house destroyed.
You look around here, how do you even begin to salvage anything?
Well, I'm not real sure, to be honest with you. You just got to start somewhere.
And David, you can see there's not much left here, but homeowners have begun the cleanup. Grateful they made it through, but they tell me those harrowing moments last night when the storm roared through and they feared for their lives will stay with them for quite a while. David.
Well, we're just grateful everyone survived this, and we're thinking about all those families tonight. Faith, thank you. There is also breaking news involving the war in Iran tonight, the U.S. and Iran trading fire, and what President Trump is now saying about this, what he told our Rachel Scott just a short time ago. And where does the effort to restart talks now stand tonight? Here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, the Pentagon says Iran fired missiles at American Navy destroyers trying to cross the Strait of Hormuz, and that the U.S. fired back, striking Iranian military facilities and command locations. Central Command describes the American strikes as self-defense. In an interview with Me Tonight, President Trump called them something else, a love tap. Still, Iranians now accuse the U.S. of violating the ceasefire, though the president insists it is still in effect. All of it comes as the U.S. and Iran try to restart talks to end the war. But even agreeing on ground rules is proving to be a challenge. The two countries are trying to put together a one-page framework that would reopen the Strait of Hormuz and pause attacks for 30 days to allow time to hash out a broader deal. Sources tell ABC News a major sticking point is what the framework would say about Iran's nuclear program. The president wants Iran to hand over its nuclear material, the enriched uranium, telling me, we'll get the enriched material. There will be no enrichment.
Yeah, we're going to get it. We're going to get it.
But Iran won't commit to that. The president says he's not setting a deadline, but with each passing day, the toll on the world's economy is only getting worse. More than 1,500 cargo ships and oil tankers are backed up in the Strait of Hormuz. Today, the CEO of Shell saying the company won't try to move its vessels under these circumstances. The CEO of Shell saying, we will wait until we feel that it is absolutely safe. We will not do anything until we have that full conviction. There are lives at stake.
And David, it's unclear just how long this stalemate is going to last, but tonight the Washington Post is reporting that a CIA analysis shows that Iran could outlast the president's blockade by at least 3 to 4 months before facing severe economic hardship. ABC News has not independently verified that reporting, but tonight the president telling me he's in no rush to end this conflict, David.
Rachel Scott live at the White House. Rachel, thank you. Overseas tonight, the headline from the UK at this hour, new charges just in tonight after former Prince Andrew was allegedly threatened near his home. Reports of a man in a ski mask and what authorities say happened. James Longman from London tonight.
Tonight, disgraced former Prince Andrew reportedly threatened by a man in a balaclava. British newspapers say Andrew was chased while walking his dogs near his home in the English countryside. According to reports, the former prince was approached by a masked man around 7:30 last night near King Charles's Sandringham estate. The suspect allegedly sitting in his car waiting for Andrew and then sprinting after him. The former Duke, who was accompanied by a security detail, was rushed to his own car and fled. The suspect was reportedly arrested for possession of an offensive weapon and his vehicle searched. Andrew, who was stripped of his titles late last year because of his ties to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, was arrested on suspicion of misconduct in public office, but not yet charged. That investigation continues. He's always denied wrongdoing. This after the release of a purported suicide note written by Epstein. The note, allegedly found by a former cellmate after Epstein's first suicide attempt, reads in part, "It is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye. What you want me to do? No fun, not worth it."
David, the suspect was taken to a local police station and he remains in custody. David?
James Longman in London tonight. James, thank you. Back here in the U.S. into a case that made national headlines. There's a new turn tonight in the Kristin Smart case, the 19-year-old who disappeared from her college campus nearly 30 years ago now. Her body was never found, and where authorities have now turned up tonight. Here's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, a new development in the murder case of Kristin Smart. Investigators searching for her body nearly 30 years after she disappeared, seen at the house of her killer's mother. Paul Flores was convicted of Smart's murder in 2022. The podcast Your Own Backyard is credited with helping crack the case. The host of the show sharing these photos of Flores' mother, Susan, answering the door Wednesday when authorities showed up with a search warrant. Prosecutors believe Smart may have been buried on property owned by the Flores family.
My understanding is they're doing what's called soil vapor extraction, and they're testing them to see if there's traces of human decomposition.
Paul Flores was last seen with Kristin Smart at a party back in 1996.
If she's not alive anymore, what do you think happened? I would say like someone who she hitchhiked with or something, abducted her or something, you know.
His father was charged but acquitted of being an accessory to the murder. His mother was never charged.
David, it's not clear if investigators uncovered any new evidence that led to this search warrant, but the sheriff says they'll provide an update on the case tomorrow morning. David.
Trevor Ault on this case from so many years ago. Thank you. Tonight, a dozen former NFL players are now joining the sex abuse lawsuit against Ohio State University, accusing a former school doctor of abuse. Tonight here, why they're coming forward now, and here's Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, 30 former Ohio State football players, including several who went on to play in the NFL, are joining a federal lawsuit against the school alleging they were sexually abused by a team doctor. That doctor, Richard Strauss, worked at Ohio State for 2 decades, beginning in 1978. And in that time, hundreds of student athletes alleged he abused them. Today, a lawyer in the case said 3 members of the Buckeyes' 1980 Rose Bowl team, Al Washington, Keith Ferguson, and Ray Ellis, agreed to join the lawsuit. All 3 played in the NFL. Washington said he decided to come forward after watching the HBO documentary Surviving Ohio State.
I'm a survivor of sexual assault, but I'm a victim of OSU.
In a statement tonight, Washington said using our voices to pay forward in this situation is not easy, but we believe it is necessary to protect future athletes and to ensure accountability for what happened to us. Strauss is dead, but Ohio State said it has sincerely and persistently tried to reconcile with survivors, including settlements with more than 300 of them for more than $60 million. This litigation's been going on for 8 years, David. Al Washington said today he decided to come forward only now because of the shame associated with his sexual abuse and his fear Ohio State would retaliate. David?
Aaron Katursky on this tonight. Thank you, Aaron. Tonight, we take you inside Cuba. The Trump administration has hit the Cuban government with new sanctions tonight. President Trump has vowed to topple the Cuban regime. This evening, the Cuban foreign minister and what he just told our Whit Johnson in Cuba, warning of a bloodbath if the U.S. strikes. Whit from Havana tonight.
Tonight, the Trump administration ramping up pressure on Cuba, slapping a new round of sanctions on businesses tied to the Cuban military, which controls so much of the island's economy. I sat down with Cuba's foreign minister, Bruno Rodriguez, in Havana, who tells me there is no progress in talks with the U.S. and dismissed recent demands from the Trump administration for political and economic reforms.
Puedo decirle que no veo progresos.
I can tell you that I see no progress. I can say that I feel there's a huge inconsistency.
No progress?
No progress.
For weeks, President Trump has repeatedly threatened potential military action against Cuba.
Cuba's going to be next. Cuba's a mess. It's a failing country, and they're going to be next.
Do you take those threats, those words from President Trump seriously?
Sí, nosotros tomamos. We take threats by the United States very seriously. It seems that the U.S. government has chosen a dangerous path, a path that could lead to unimaginable consequences, to a humanitarian catastrophe.
With no resolution, it's the Cuban people suffering most.
The fuel shortage here in Cuba only worsening the crisis, with gas prices around $40 a gallon if you can find it. Most stations like this one are shutting down.
Rolling blackouts straining resources, hunger on the rise.
What have you been looking for here in the trash?
This man tells me he's now forced to search for food in the trash.
And David, as we've seen firsthand, there is a growing sense of desperation here in Cuba and anxiety over what comes next. David.
Whit Johnson from Havana tonight. Whit, thank you. We turn now to the meeting with Pope Leo amid rising tensions between President Trump and the first American Pope. Secretary of State Marco Rubio today meeting with the Pope at the Vatican discussing the Middle East. President Trump criticizing Pope Leo for speaking out against war. The Pope telling reporters today, quote, "If someone wants to criticize me for proclaiming the gospel, let him do so truthfully." When we come back on the broadcast tonight, there's news this evening about singer Bonnie Tyler, who, of course, sang Total Eclipse of the Heart, what we're learning right now. Also, the other news tonight, a man accused of murdering his pregnant wife. Well, tonight, authorities say he has fled the U.S. for Italy, now seeking asylum there, what we've learned. Also tonight, the image is a suspect opening fire on New York State troopers. There's a major change now coming to March Madness, how it'll be different. And we told you last night about those 1,500 beagles saved. They needed help. But what's now happened tonight and why they could still use some help from American families in a moment. To other news tonight, a Texas husband accused of killing his pregnant wife in their Houston home has apparently fled the country just before trial, now seeking asylum in Italy. Authorities say Lee Gilley cut off his ankle monitor and fled the U.S., they say using a fake passport. Gilley could face the death penalty in Texas, and there are real questions tonight whether Italy will extradite him back to the U.S. Tonight, New York State authorities releasing drone video that they say shows a murder suspect attacking state troopers. Images show the suspect approaching an armored vehicle with a long gun and allegedly opening fire. The gunman shot and killed. He was a suspect in the murders of two neighbors. Tonight, we have learned two Southwest planes clipping wings at Baltimore Washington International Airport. Video shared by a passenger appears to show a scrape on the wing of one of the planes, both planes taken out of service. No one was hurt in this. When we come back here tonight, the major change coming to March Madness. Also, news tonight about singer Bonnie Tyler, who sang Total Eclipse of the Heart, and those beagles we showed you last night. What's now happened tonight? To the Index, singer Bonnie Tyler reportedly recovering tonight after emergency intestinal surgery in Portugal. The 74-year-old, best known for her hit Total Eclipse of the Heart, has a home in Portugal. They say she's recovering well. Tonight, March Madness is expanding. The NCAA announcing the men's and women's tournaments will go from 68 teams each to 76 beginning next year. When we come back tonight, the race to save the beagles. You have to see these puppies. Finally tonight, nothing but love for those beagles. Tonight, the remarkable effort to save the beagles. It was just last night here we reported on the staggering need. Authorities say some 1,500 beagles have been removed from a Wisconsin research facility outside Madison. Animal rescue organizations say they saved them. Tonight, volunteers transporting the beagles by bus, by plane. The long line of volunteers holding the beagles. The nonprofit's now looking for new homes for the dogs. And after our report, so many of you responded with donations and thousands of adoption applications. Tonight here, the rescue teams.
Hey, David.
Wayne Baselli, president of the Center for a Humane Economy.
There are beagles all around me, and they are walking on grass. So what a joyous moment. The reality is we have more adopters than we have dogs at this time from this facility. But go to a local rescue, go to a local shelter, and get one of these beagles.
And joining us too,
hi, David.
Lori Simmons, founder, CEO, and president of Big Dog Ranch Rescue.
Getting all of these dogs out is what is so special because all we want for them are loving families and a bright future.
Tonight, the beagles are now heading to some 40 states and their forever homes across this country. And they're still accepting applications tonight.
Hi, David.
Cheryl Gross and her family in Boynton Beach, Florida, ready for their beagle.
I can't wait to give it a safe and loving home. We are so excited.
Hi, David.
And Sasha Itzigman from Sherman Oaks, California.
Bodie, and this is Elliot.
With her 10-year-old rescue beagles already part of the family, they can't wait to meet their newest beagle.
We're really excited to see all of these dogs make their way to forever homes across the country.
We love our viewers and those beagles. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
David Muir, the most trusted anchor in America, the most watched anchor in America. Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir the #1 newscast in America.